take a deep breath and let's hear a story about Chloe, a young woman who left her valley to explore the world. In the gentle hills of Meadowbrook Valley, where amber sunlight filtered through emerald leaves and the air carried whispers of lavender and fresh dew, lived a young woman named Chloe. Her cottage sat nestled between two ancient oak trees, whose branches created a natural canopy above her garden of wildflowers and herbs. Every morning she would wake to the soft melody of birdsong that drifted through her open window, accompanied by the delicate chime of crystal wind bells swaying in the breeze. The people of Meadowbrook followed time-honored traditions, their days flowing in predictable rhythms, as steady as the stream that wound through the village center. They rose with the sun, worked in communal gardens, crafted items of practical beauty, and gathered each evening to share meals beneath strings of glowing golden lanterns. The soft murmur of conversation would blend with the gentle strumming of wooden lutes as children played nearby, their laughter bubbling up like the clear spring water that fed their valley. Chloe loved her community, finding comfort in the warm smiles and familiar faces that greeted her each day as she walked the well-worn stone paths of the village. She appreciated the steady heartbeat of village life, the reassuring cycle of seasons that brought different colors to the valley, and the sense of belonging that wrapped around her like a soft woolen blanket on a cool evening. Yet within her heart loomed a curiosity that no one else seemed to share, a gentle yearning to discover what lay beyond the protective embrace of the familiar hills. At night, while others slept peacefully beneath quilts passed down through generations, Chloe would often sit by her window, gazing at the stars that twinkled like diamonds scattered across midnight blue velvet. The cool night air would caress her face as she breathed deeply, inhaling the sweet scent of night-blooming jasmine that climbed up her cottage walls. These quiet moments filled her with a serene wonder and sparked dreams of distant horizons that called to her in whispers only her heart could hear. Unlike her peers who found fulfillment in continuing ancestral crafts, Chloe spent hours collecting unusual stones, feathers, and fragments of colored glass that caught her eye during her daily walks. She arranged these treasures on shelves made from driftwood she had found by the village stream, creating an ever-changing mosaic that reflected the light in mesmerizing patterns. Her fingers would trace the smooth surfaces and unique textures, each item telling a story of where it had been found and what had drawn her to it. Chloe's parents, Maya and Thomas, were kind souls who crafted musical instruments, whose sounds were said to resonate with the very essence of the valley. Their workshop smelled of polished wood and linseed oil, a warm, earthy fragrance that reminded Chloe of security and childhood. They noticed their daughter's different nature but loved her with unconditional acceptance, sensing that her spirit was like a rare butterfly, beautiful in its uniqueness and meant to explore beyond the garden. In the village, Elder Elise served as both guide and keeper of knowledge, her silver hair cascading like a waterfall down her back as she moved with surprising grace for her years. Her cottage was filled with books and scrolls, the pages yellowed with age but preserved with care, smelling faintly of dried herbs and wisdom accumulated over decades. Chloe would often visit, sinking into a soft chair covered in patches of colorful fabric, listening to stories of lands and peoples that existed far beyond the sheltering hills. Each season in Meadowbrook brought its own gifts. Spring with its carpet of bluebells and the gentle patter of rain on new leaves. Summer filled with the sweet scent of ripening berries and the soothing sound of bees humming among the flowers. Autumn painted the world in warm hues of amber, copper, and gold, while winter wrapped the valley in a hushed blanket of snow that glittered like diamonds in the pale sunlight. Through each changing season, Chloe felt a growing awareness that her own season of change was approaching. On her 20th birthday, as was tradition, Chloe received a pendant carved from the heartwood of an ancient tree, polished to a soft luster that felt warm against her skin. The grain of the wood formed a pattern unique to her, which Elder Elise said represented the path of her life within the community. Chloe appreciated the beautiful craftsmanship and the love with which it was given, running her fingers over its smooth surface as she contemplated what her true path might be. That night, a summer storm rolled through the valley, bringing with it the refreshing scent of rain-soaked earth and the cooling touch of wind against heated skin. Lightning illuminated the sky in brilliant flashes, followed by the deep, rolling rumble of thunder that Chloe felt vibrating in her chest as she lay in bed. Instead of fear, she felt a strange sense of awakening, as if the storm were speaking directly to her soul, encouraging her to embrace the unknown with the same fearless energy. The following morning dawned clear and fresh, the world washed clean by the night's rain. Dew droplets clung to grass blades and spider webs, creating prisms that scattered rainbow light across the ground. Chloe stepped outside, filling her lungs with air that tasted of renewal and possibility. Birds sang with renewed vigor, their melodies seeming to confirm the decision that had crystallized in her heart during the night. It was time to follow her curiosity beyond the valley. Gathering her courage like collecting precious stones, Chloe approached the village council meeting that evening, her heart beating a rhythm both terrifying and exhilarating. The communal hall was lit by beeswax candles that filled the space with a honey-sweet scent and cast a warm, golden glow over the gathered faces. The wooden benches, smooth from generations of use, creaked gently as people shifted to make room for her, their expressions curious but kind. As Chloe shared her desire to travel beyond the valley, seeking knowledge and experiences to bring back home, she felt a strange calmness settle over her like a soft, comforting shawl. Her voice, steady and clear, carried through the hushed room as she described her vision of bringing fresh ideas to enrich their community. The dancing flames of the candles seemed to mirror the spark of passion in her eyes, and though some faces showed concern, others, including Elder Elise, nodded with understanding eyes that held the wisdom of seeing many such moments over the years. The path that led away from Meadowbrook Valley wound through ancient forest groves, where sunlight filtered through leaves in dappled patterns that danced across Chloe's skin. The earth beneath her feet felt springy with moss and fallen needles, cushioning each step of her journey as the familiar sounds of home gradually faded behind her. A gentle breeze carried the rich aroma of pine and wildflowers, occasionally delivering the sweet surprise of ripening berries or the earthy scent of mushrooms hidden among the roots of towering trees. Chloe had brought little with her, a small pack containing a journal bound in soft leather that still carried the comforting scent of her father's workshop. A water flask, some dried fruits and nuts wrapped in cloth her mother had embroidered with protective symbols, and her wooden pendant. The simplicity of her possessions felt freeing rather than limiting, allowing her to fully absorb each new experience without the weight of unnecessary burdens. Her fingers often found their way to the pendant, its familiar texture a reminder of the love that had given her the courage to depart. On her third day of travel, the forest opened to reveal a meadow filled with flowers, unlike any Chloe had seen before. Their petals glowed with an inner light that intensified as the sun began to set. She sat among them, watching in wonder, as they gradually released a soft luminescence that illuminated the gathering darkness with a gentle blue-white radiance. The air grew still and cool, carrying only the delicate perfume of the glowing blossoms and the distant hooting of an owl beginning its nightly hunt. That night, sleeping beneath a sky scattered with more stars than she had ever seen, Chloe dreamed of conversations with the flowers, who spoke in whispers of distant lands and the travelers who had passed through before her. She woke with the first light of dawn, her body nestled in the soft grass that had shaped itself around her form like a natural cradle. Dew droplets clung to her hair and eyelashes, refreshing her face as she opened her eyes to greet the new day with a heart full of gratitude for this magical place. The journey led her to settlements both similar to and vastly different from her home village. In one, houses were built among the branches of massive trees, connected by swinging bridges that moved with a gentle rhythm in the wind. The people there wore clothes dyed in colors extracted from rare flowers and minerals, creating patterns that told stories of their family histories. At night, they sang songs and harmonies so complex and beautiful that Chloe felt the music resonating in her very bones, bringing tears of joy to her eyes. In another community built beside a lake so clear it perfectly mirrored the sky above, Chloe learned how to listen to the subtle language of water. An elder with skin weathered like well-loved leather taught her to distinguish the different notes in the lapping of waves against the shore, explaining how these sounds predicted weather patterns and seasonal changes. Chloe would sit for hours with her eyes closed, feeling the cool mist against her face, training her ears to detect the nuances that had previously gone unnoticed. Each new place offered wisdom that Chloe carefully recorded in her journal with sketches and pressed flowers, creating a sensory map of her journey. Her fingers became stained with the juices of berries used for ink, and the pages took on the scents of the places she visited: smoke from ceremonial fires, essential oils used in healing rituals, the saltiness of ocean air. The journal grew thicker, its cover softening further with frequent handling, becoming a physical manifestation of her expanding consciousness. As seasons changed, Chloe found herself in a desert where the sand shifted in waves beneath a sky so vast and blue it seemed to swallow the horizon. The heat of day gave way to nights of profound cold that made the stars appear close enough to touch. Here she met nomadic travelers who taught her to read the subtle signs of water hidden beneath a seemingly barren landscape. They showed her how certain plants stored precious moisture in their roots and stems, offering survival to those who approached with respect and knowledge. In this harsh but beautiful environment, Chloe learned patience from people who had made peace with the rhythms of a challenging land. They moved with deliberate economy, conserving energy during the hottest hours by resting in tents made of finely woven fabrics that somehow kept the interior cool despite the blazing sun. Their voices were low and melodious, their laughter rare but genuine, their eyes holding depths of wisdom that could only come from living in harmonious balance with such powerful natural forces. One evening, as they gathered around a small fire that cast warm orange light across their faces, an elder woman with intricate tattoos marking her life journey took Chloe's hands in her own. Her skin felt like parchment, dry but incredibly strong, as she turned Chloe's palms upward and traced the lines with a gentle fingertip. In a voice that reminded Chloe of wind moving through canyon walls, she spoke of seeing a dual path, one leading back to where Chloe had begun, but changed by what she had learned. This encounter stirred something deep within Chloe, a recognition that her journey would eventually create a full circle. That night, sleeping beneath a canopy of stars that seemed to pulse with ancient knowledge, she dreamed of Meadowbrook Valley transformed by the insights she would bring home. She saw her community incorporating elements from all the places she had visited, creating something new yet respectful of tradition. The vision was so vivid she could almost taste the fusion of familiar and novel flavors, smell the blend of known and exotic scents. The following morning, with renewed purpose warming her heart like the desert sun warming the sand, Chloe decided it was time to begin the journey homeward. She had traversed mountains where clouds wrapped around peaks like soft scarves, forests where trees whispered secrets of centuries past, rivers that sang their stories in bubbling choruses. Each place had offered its gifts, not just of knowledge but of perspective, showing how many different ways there were to live in harmony with the world. Her path back was not the same one she had taken outward, for she had learned that growth rarely follows a straight line. This route took her through valleys where inhabitants had mastered the art of growing gardens that spiraled in mathematical patterns, maximizing sun exposure while creating designs of breathtaking beauty. She learned how they composed music based on these same patterns, creating harmonies that seemed to resonate with the very structure of the universe. At night, lying on soft grass, these melodies would play in her mind, lulling her into dreams filled with geometric forms that danced and transformed. Further along her homeward journey, Chloe encountered a village where storytelling was considered the highest art form. Each evening, residents gathered in a circular space where acoustics naturally amplified the human voice without distortion. Storytellers would weave narratives that engaged all senses, their words painting images so vivid listeners could see them, their vocal modulations creating emotional landscapes that could be felt physically. Chloe spent weeks there, absorbing techniques that would allow her to share her experiences in ways that would truly convey their essence rather than merely recounting events. As familiar hills appeared on the horizon, their gentle slopes outlined against the sky like embracing arms, Chloe felt a curious blend of emotions washing over her like waves on a shore. There was joy at returning to the place that held her roots, anticipation about sharing all she had learned, and a new appreciation for the beauty of Meadowbrook that she might never have developed without leaving. The scent of pine and wildflowers welcomed her, carrying memories of childhood adventures and family gatherings that filled her heart with a warm sense of homecoming. The village appeared largely unchanged at first glance. the same stone paths winding between cottages, with smoke curling from chimneys, the same stream bubbling through the center, reflecting sunlight in dancing patterns. Yet Chloe perceived subtle differences through her now experienced eyes. The potential for new growing techniques in the community gardens, spaces where music from distant lands might enhance their traditional songs, opportunities for storytelling circles that could expand their collective imagination. She saw her home not as static, but as a living entity capable of growth while maintaining its essential character. Her family welcomed her with embraces that felt like coming home to her own body after a long absence, their familiar scents of wood smoke and herb gardens enveloping her in comfort. They sat together late into the evening, cups of steaming mint tea warming their hands as Chloe shared stories of her travels. Her parents listened with shining eyes, occasionally asking questions that showed genuine interest rather than judgment of the different ways she had encountered. Their acceptance wrapped around her like the softest blanket, confirming that love transcends differences in choices and paths. Word spread quickly through the village that Chloe had returned, and over the following days, neighbors stopped by bearing gifts of freshly baked bread, jars of honey, and bundles of seasonal flowers. Each visitor seemed curious rather than critical, many confessing they had thought of her often and wondered about the world beyond their valley. Elder Elise arrived with a special gift, a new journal bound in leather dyed the color of twilight, its pages ready to receive the next chapter of Chloe's story, which would unfold right here in the place of her beginning. At the next community gathering, Chloe was invited to share her experiences with everyone. The communal hall was filled beyond capacity, children sitting cross-legged on floor cushions at the front, elders in chairs along the walls, families clustered together on benches. Candles and lanterns cast a golden glow that reminded Chloe of the desert sunset, creating an atmosphere of warmth and receptivity. When she stood to speak, the silence that fell was one of genuine interest rather than obligation, a gift that gave her confidence to open her heart fully. Using the storytelling techniques she had learned, Chloe transported her community to distant lands through words that painted vivid images and gestures that conveyed emotions beyond language. She described the tree dwellers' harmonies while teaching simple parts for the audience to join in, creating a moment of connection through shared music. She passed around objects collected during her travels, stones polished by desert winds, seeds from plants with miraculous properties, small vials of essential oils with transformative fragrances, allowing everyone to engage their senses in her narrative. As weeks passed into months, Chloe found herself becoming a bridge between tradition and innovation within Meadowbrook. Working alongside Elder Elise, she helped integrate new healing practices with ancient remedies, creating a more comprehensive approach to wellness that honored both. In the community garden, she introduced companion planting techniques learned from the spiral gardeners, resulting in harvests more abundant than any in recent memory. The satisfaction of seeing her journey bear fruit for everyone filled her with a deep sense of purpose and belonging. Music in the valley evolved as Chloe taught melodies from distant cultures to interested villagers. Evening gatherings now featured new instruments alongside traditional ones, creating rich tapestries of sound that seemed to vibrate with the essence of human connection across boundaries. Children were especially receptive, their flexible minds easily embracing different scales and rhythms, their voices blending in harmonies that brought tears to the eyes of elders who had never imagined such sounds could exist in their lifetime. Perhaps the most profound change came through the storytelling circles that Chloe established near the ancient oak trees where generations had gathered before. Here, under branches that filtered moonlight into patterns like lace on the ground below, villagers began sharing not just tales passed down through generations, but also their own dreams, fears, and visions. The practice created new bonds of understanding between neighbors who had lived side by side for decades, yet never truly known one another's inner landscapes. During one such circle, as fireflies danced like earthbound stars around the gathering, a young girl named Myra approached Chloe with shining eyes full of questions about the world beyond the valley. Looking into that curious face, Chloe recognized herself as she had been before her journey and felt the perfect symmetry of life's circles. With gentle hands, she removed her wooden pendant, the symbol of her place in the community, and placed it around Myra's neck, explaining that true belonging comes not from staying in one place, but from bringing your whole self wherever you go. That night, lying in her childhood bed that now felt both familiar and new, Chloe listened to the symphony of night sounds, crickets chirping in complex patterns, the distant hooting of an owl, leaves rustling in a gentle breeze, and realized that home was not merely a physical location, but a feeling that resided within her. She had traveled far only to discover that the most precious wisdom had been waiting for her to return and recognize it. Gratitude filled her heart like warm honey, sweet and nourishing, as she drifted towards sleep with a smile curving her lips. Years passed in a gentle flow of seasons, each bringing its own gifts and challenges to Meadowbrook Valley. Chloe continued to journey occasionally, sometimes accompanied by others who had found their own curiosity awakened, but always returning to share what she had learned. Her cottage became a place where the aroma of exotic spices mingled with familiar herbs, where objects from distant lands sat comfortably alongside local crafts, where visitors from far and near gathered to exchange ideas and stories that expanded everyone's understanding of what was possible. The path less traveled had indeed made all the difference, not just for Chloe, but for an entire community that had learned to value both tradition and growth, stability and exploration. On summer evenings, as golden light filtered through leaves and the air filled with the sweet scent of night-blooming flowers, Chloe would sit on her porch watching new generations of children playing games that blended elements from many cultures. Their laughter, rising like music into the twilight, was the most beautiful sound she had ever heard, the sound of a future unfolding that honored all paths, all journeys, all ways of being in this wondrous world.